Hey friends, I want to share a very basic and simple Christian practice that I think is good for any kind of group of Christians. And that is to come back and share the testimony of our baptisms. Now, baptism in our tradition's practice is a very pivotal event in somebody's life where they are committing to live out the story of Jesus in their own way. And so they take on the death and the burial and the resurrection of Jesus. They confess Jesus as Lord, and they pledge to live, under His lordship. In other words, they are going to live out what God's will is for them instead of just taking their own path. And that moment, which happens very differently for believers in all of our individual stories, is such a powerful space for testimony. In fact, the very act of baptism itself is a testimony where we are saying to the people who are witnesses there, I have come to believe in Jesus, I have come to believe in His story, and I have come to want to mimic that story in this act of baptism, but even more so, mimic that story in my life, giving my life over to the will of God and for the sake of love and service to others, just like Jesus did in the cross, and then allowing God to fill me with new life, just as Jesus was raised to new life in the resurrection. And when we say that, when we submit to that act of baptism, we are giving this radical act of testimony that's something important that we believe about reality in the world and ourselves. When we come back to that moment in our lives and share that moment to our groups and our friends, and we tell them about that space, we are giving them testimony that we continue in the belief of that moment. Now, we may be in a different place in lots of ways. Hopefully, we've matured at some point along the way. It's okay if we've come to understand our baptism differently, maybe even than we understood it. In fact, that's very healthy and natural. We should be growing and understanding in our life. But when we come back and we can tell the story, we can talk about what we understood then and the way we understand what that moment means for us now. And I think that's encouraging both for people who themselves have taken on that story as well, other baptized believers, but also for people in our company who haven't taken that step yet. And it gives us a space to allow them to understand what that moment has meant to us, and serves as a way of inviting them into that process and into that act, and really into the story that motivates and drives that act and invites people into the story of Jesus. I think it's good for us to have moments and times where we talk about baptism and give information about it, but just as important as that, I think we need to have moments in the life of our communities where people tell the story of what that baptismal moment has meant for them, and really give testimony about what it has meant for them to enter into the story of Jesus. So today in your group, why don't we just take a little bit of time and share with each other what that baptismal story looked like? I mean, where did you come to that? And you know what? If you haven't come to that place yet, that's okay to share that, and you shouldn't feel embarrassed and shameful. We're all at different points in our journey. But take some time to hear these other stories and to receive what they're offering to you. But if you're a person in the group who has taken that step of baptism, well, just take some time today and share, however it's appropriate, depending on the size of your group, how much time everybody takes. That just depends on your group. But take a moment and just share what happened, what caused you to take that step, and what has it meant for you from that? How do you understand it maybe differently than you understood it then? And share those things with each other, and share that testimony. And at the end, just take some time and give God thanks for the way that He has brought us all into the story of Jesus, the story of the cross and the resurrection, and what God is doing to bring about new creation on the earth. Okay, grace and peace.